Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate coming at you with my last review for 2017. And my last holiday review for the year as well. Well, obviously, because it's the last review. Anyway, coming at you to review the movie, how do you say this? Krampus? Krampus? This movie I think came out around this time of year last year, maybe November or something like that, or December last year, and I remember seeing a poster for it in the theater being like, oh, cool, it looks like potentially maybe I got this for a previously viewed for $5, this Blu-ray. I thought it looked like, a potential like Christmas horror movie kind of thing, as some of my favorite Christmas movies are Christmas horror movies. And, then I researched it online, I found it was PG-13, and I was just like, and I never really gave it much of a thought after that, but then, well, I don't know whether it was, I think it was like in October or something like that of this year I found this came across a previously viewed Blu-ray for $5, and I'm like, you know what, I'm kind of curious about this movie, it's relatively cheap, I can watch it and review it for this, bunch of holiday movie reviews this year for the channel, so I bought it and watched it, and I'm coming at you to review this, so there we go, here we go. The movie starts out absolutely fantastically, in my opinion, with something I don't think I've ever seen before in a movie, which is kind of like a slow motion version of Black Friday. The movie starts with this kind of cool sense of humor with the, happy Christmas music going on in slow motion of people bashing in a store or something like that on Christmas. Or I mean on Black Friday rather, or something like that, holiday shopping, And I thought that was a kind of a clever and humorous way to start the movie, and something I'd never seen in a movie before. And the opening credits are basically just, I think, all slow motion of all this kind of Black Friday mayhem, if you will, done relatively realistically and stuff. And I thought that's kind of cool, and that's how we end up kind of coming to introduce the characters of the family of this movie, the main family with I think it's like a brother and sister and mom and dad or whatever. So basically this movie revolves around this household, which is mom and dad, brother and sister, I think, and I think the dad's mother, who is this kind of cool German woman who mostly speaks in German in the movie, and she's kind of like the teller of the tale and the one who knows what's really going on in this movie. So the movie starts really cool, and I'd say the first 30 minutes of this movie are, or maybe not 30, maybe 20 or 25 minutes of this movie are kind of cool. The movie looks absolutely fantastic with all the, holiday Christmas colors, if you will, and looks really crisp and sharp. I imagine this is probably shot digitally. But, they got the cinematography, Christmas colors down and all this and that, the the mom is big on, there's their family or whatever is coming for holidays, and, mom's decking out the freaking house, all, decorations. And I hope people don't really do all this woman does in this movie in real life, but they probably do. And, the house looks all wonderful and Christmas decorations and all this kind of crap. And it's kind of reminds you of, the first third of this movie reminds you of Christmas Vacation, where the, just the deadbeat, instead of being, whatever, Cousin Eddie or whatever, it's like pretty much a remake version or approximation of Cousin Eddie and his family come. And, it's just this disaster, I think it's like it's like, I can't remember when this movie starts, if maybe it's December 22nd or 23rd or something like that, but that's when these other family members arrive, which are very much reminiscent of just, Cousin Eddie and his family and stuff. And same kind of premise, really, and the kids just, 20 or 25 minutes into this movie after dinner or whatever like that, with all this just, just jerk family members of his cousins or whatever. This kid, he's getting towards the age where he probably shouldn't believe in Santa anymore, but secretly he's like writing a letter to Santa, and some of his cousin bitches, find the letter and make fun of him about it. Anyway, he just hates this, the first dinner they've had with the cousins or whatever after they've arrived, and he's just right on the edge of being the age where he shouldn't believe in this anyway. I mean, I learned that Santa was bullshit, like, I don't know, before I was 10, I think. This kid's like, I don't know, 13 or something in this movie, but 12 or 13 probably. so he like gets all mad about what's going on, and he's, you know, just with a crappy family. No one wants to have the Christmas he's, you know, used to have, the one he likes, where he watched Charlie Brown Christmas and just, you know, have a simple kind of family time or whatever. And he gets really pissed off, and he looks at his letter to Santa, and he just rips it up in a rage and throws it out the window, and it like gets sucked up into the clouds. So basically what ends up happening is this, you know, it's kind of the anti Santa Claus, even though, you know, Santa, the letters Santa, if you rearrange them, you can spell Satan with the letters of Santa, of course, in anagram or whatever. So even though Santa is Satan, and he's all red and whatever, you know, in this movie, it's basically portrayed this anti-Santa, if you will, which is kind of like this, what Granny ends up saying is this I always want to say crump, but it's Krampus. I mean, I don't know how to say that. Krampus. It's basically this, you know, basically Satan frickin' version of Santa, and of course Santa is that himself, where he's just like got hooves, and he's just this, you know, frickin', you know, goat that walks on, you know, his hind legs, and he's just all just, you know, whatever, got the long fingers and all this kind of crap. We don't really see him until later on in the movie, but you know, when he throws that thing out the window, it gets swept up into the, you know, the clouds, and the clouds turn all dark, and instantly there's this huge snowstorm blizzard thing going on, and basically just plunges the neighborhood into a blizzard, and it's just like, I think the power goes out. Luckily they have a freaking fireplace. So basically the rest of the movie, which is like an hour, is just spent with this family and the newly arrived cousins, or whoever the hell they are, family members, just hunkering down for the next hour of the movie in this house, not really knowing what's going on. Like big sister goes out to her boyfriend's and, you know, gets accosted by, you know, something, I guess this Krampus or whatever, but we don't really see, you know, what gets her or whatever. And I was surprised, like, she dies? I can't believe she dies, but she doesn't end up dying. You know, they do pull off, for doing a fake winter or whatever in this movie, they do pull off the winter look relatively well, better than in the Jack Frost frickin' horror movie or whatever, and maybe even better than any of the two Jack Frost movies. I mean, the horror movie one and then the Michael Keaton one. I haven't seen the sequel to the horror movie one. But so that's the premise of this movie, and it's just like you know, and then, you know, the house just gets I guess we end up, you know, I was watching this movie thinking the title came to mind, which was really kind of a cool title. Like, it reminded you, the way they kind of barricade themselves into the house kind of reminded me of Night of the Living Dead, and I was like, oh, I was thinking the titles, I'm like, Silent Night of the Living Dead, like how cool would that be? Of course it's not Living Dead, it's like these, you know, Tim Burton frickin' just all these goofy things that will come into play, all these characters, you know, elves and stuff wearing masks and all this goofy kind of, you know, it definitely reminded me of like Tim Burton kind of thing, even so much so to the kind of the, I don't know if it was actual stop motion animation or computer graphics that meant to look like kind of Tim Burton stop motion animation when the German-speaking granny gives, you know, the flashback of her experience with this same character when she, you know, basically the premise of this movie is anyone who frickin', you know, loses hope in Christmas will be visited by this anti-Santa who will punish you for not believing in Christmas, which is really kind of nasty idea or whatever. So it's kind of like a different telling of A Christmas Carol, really, where it's instead of, I don't know, more of a version of a horror movie version of Christmas Carol, where, you know, if you don't believe in this bullshit or whatever, then you're gonna get killed. So, kind of like any religious tale, this movie plays like. So that's basically it. I mean, you know, I found this movie to be like, after the first half hour of it, it's just like the last hour of it, more or less, to be boring. I mean, literally, they spend the, you know, the last, whatever you want to say, 55 minutes of this movie hunkered down in the frickin' house, like Night of the Living Dead, Silent Night of the Living frickin' Orbs, you know, Orbs. That's my way of saying elves and dwarves at the same time, I guess. I don't know, but just, you know, all this creepy kind of shit that in a lot of ways rip off the Charlie Band film movie Demonic Toys. There's this killer teddy bear and this Jack-in-the-Box that becomes this nasty, huge Jack-in-the-Box thing going around eating people. So it's almost like the people who made this movie saw like Dollman versus Demonic Toys, because in that movie, obviously, Dollman facing off against Jack-in-the-Box. You know, Jack-in-the-Box is huge because Dollman's small. There's a lot of things in this movie that reminded me of Demonic Toys, and the demonic, or the evil teddy bear and the Jack-in-the-Box and stuff. It's just like, oh my gosh. So I wonder if Charlie Band saw this movie, because if he did, it's another thing he can be pissed off about, because over the years, things that he's done has kind of made it into bigger movies and stuff like that, and he's just always been pissed about that, and rightfully so or whatever. But I found this movie to be particularly not interesting. I'm not big on supernatural stuff. I guess I didn't really necessarily know that this was supernatural stuff. So all this stuff with the, Krampus minions and, evil elves and all this kind of stuff that are find their way into the house and do all this and that, and Tim Burton-ish kind of stuff, I found to be not particularly interesting. And then I think the way the kid just basically, everyone basically just dies at the end of the movie, and the kid's like thrown down into the pit of hell or whatever. And I think the only way, like, the movie, he saves himself is by at the last minute saying like, oh, I take it back, I do believe in Christmas or some crap. I don't know don't quote me, I don't know exactly how it went, but I think that the kid changed his mind at the very end and basically said, I take it back, only to have his whole family end up dying, only to wake up, and be like, oh, everything's back to normal. And it's basically a different version of A Christmas Carol, where when he wakes up, then he's all grateful for the crap he's living in, when in fact he whatever. I'll hold my opinion on that to myself. But yeah, basically a remake of Christmas Carol in more of a PG-13 horror movie version. I found it to be more or less uninteresting after the 20-25 minute mark, where the movie is basically just 40, 45, 50, 55 minutes of them sitting around in the living room trying to keep, warm and sleeping, and that's really all I can remember, with some shenanigans going on with killer gingerbread men and stuff, which is another thing that Charlie Band should be pissed off about, killer cookies and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, yeah. Not particularly interesting. I'll give this movie 3/4 of a star out of 4 stars. It looks really great, big kind of more studio, bigger budget movie. But I found it to be rather soulless and just goes through the motions so many movies before it have done. Even though if it looks all snazzy and sounds all snazzy and whatever, I mean, if a movie's soulless, it doesn't really matter how snazzy it is. It's a soulless piece of crap, which I would mostly regard this movie as. So good thing I only paid $5 for it. I wish I would have not paid anything for it, but alas, I did. Thank you very much for watching this review, and as always, we'll catch you next time.